Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We thank every one of our viewers for watching us whenever you get the time to. And as you know, this is your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. I am your host, the Viking Donkey, once again joined by the one and only Mutant Gingy to talk about week 16 of the
Week
NFL season.
Week 16, and the ship is righted. Steelers come out with a W.
It
My, oh
certainly
my.
was. We're on Fallout again. We're going to be headed over to Feed the People because that just seemed appropriate for the start of the cast. And we'll talk about some fun stuff going on. Gingy, what did you see going on out there week 16?
Week 16, looking at the Saints laying 50-plus points on the Vikings on Christmas Day.
Alvin
Kamara.
Kamara.
Six?
Woo!
6, is it, Donkey?
Yeah, that was... Drew Brees couldn't do anything really that good, but that dude couldn't do anything wrong.
That's a small Festivus miracle.
The scarier thought there is they scored 50 points and somehow we're in a tight football game for most of that.
Oh, I'll tell you what,
Defense be damned.
Talk about what midway through the third quarter, and the Vikings could not keep up with that track meet.
Well, they did decide their franchise savior was Kirk Cousins. I mean, and then they traded away Stephon Diggs. Like, I'm not sure what they're doing there, but they're going the wrong direction.
Can't disagree with you there, Donkey. I'm looking around at the crazy game the next day between the Dolphins and the Raiders, really mixing up the playoff picture in the AFC. With Dolphins coming out with a 1-point win.
I say this all the time. Anytime you get the chance to, you always play for the touchdown. You never don't play for the touchy. You don't play for the touchy, you lose the game. I mean, if it's fourth down, you obviously kick field goal, but you don't intentionally try to not get the touchy.
Didn't turn out well there.
It rarely does.
The number one seed in the AFC presently, the Kansas City Chiefs, played a tight, low-score game with the Atlanta Falcons, 17-14.
Atlanta should have won that game. Their DB dropped an interception on the drive that ended up being a touchdown the next play for Kansas City, and then their kicker misses a 39-yard field goal. And Koo's been great this year. I believe he's the Pro Bowl kicker for the NFC. I don't know. That Kansas City team's looking very beatable recently. That's like 3 straight weeks of just underperformance. I mean, say what you want. It's those top teams in the AFC are looking weaker as the season's gone on, unless you're Buffalo. Buffalo's the only one that's looked better as the season's gone on.
Yeah, they really, I think, asserted their dominance of their division on Monday night, final Monday night game of the year, and they proved that they're the team to be reckoned with in that division, with a solid whomping of the New England Patriots.
For sure, and it's looking like the Belichick-Brady thing is one to Brady. At least first season looks like it goes to Brady.
And so far, we'll see how that NFC shakes out. But the other notable to me, looking at the AFC North, would be 3 teams winning in the AFC North. That would be the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Bengals. Okay.
How about them Bengals?
And the one notable loss, as the Cleveland Browns are trying to secure a playoff bid, and they lose to the Jets.
You have to feel... I feel bad for Cleveland in that situation. You're prepping all week. You have your game plan. You have everything ready to go. And then on Saturday, you find out your whole receiving core can't play. Like, that's rough. I'm not a Cleveland fan, and I've said before, I want Cleveland to start winning so it can become a rivalry again. But, man, that's rough. Like, I understand this is COVID-19 season. This is pandemic season. That's the stuff that's going to happen. But to see it happen in such an important game for the Browns, who are having such a good year and playing such good football right now, that's just... it's tough, man.
Yep. Unfortunate.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But the way that shakes out, Sunday versus the Steelers becomes a very important game for them, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but those are my main takes from around the NFL. What do you see, Donkey? Anything else?
So I always thought the Titans would be a team that's built to play well in the snow. And then they go to Lambeau in the snow, and I go to my wife, I'm like, this should be a good game for the Titans. They're big, they're physical, and then they're down like 30 points. And my wife's like, you really think that? And I'm like, I would like to change my opinion now. I was like, I can't believe what I saw there. That was nuts to me. But the thing I want to get into, how the hell did the Baltimore Ravens only get fined $250K, one of the lowest fines possible, for their blatant violations of COVID protocols that affected not one but two historic franchises that are that have chances at playoffs? Like, could you imagine if Dallas got to play Baltimore when they were supposed to, which would have been before Lamar Jackson was able to come back? The ramifications that could have had if Dallas had won that game. I mean, they'd be controlling their own destiny right now. But instead, Baltimore screws over playoff teams during the end of the season and gets a fine less than the Steelers for improper mask wear on the field. Like, the Steelers got fined more for improper mask wear, or the same amount for improper mask wear, than the Ravens got for literally trying to ruin 2 seasons out there. I mean, I saw, there looked like there was a smear of something white all over Harbaugh's glasses all weekend. And bro, I think I finally figured out what it was. He must have spent some quality time in Roger Goodell's office to get that kind of a fine for the blatant disregard they had. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't know. Lamar Jackson must sell a lot of jerseys, man. I don't know what to tell you.
He certainly does, and he certainly is a great player, but when they said, all the teams, that after the Tennessee thing, if you do it now, you're going to get treated really serious, and then you fine them less than you did Tennessee, less than you did Oakland. And by the way, you made Oakland play a game without their whole starting offensive line and still fined them more and took away a draft pick from them than you did to the Baltimore Ravens. And you made them play shorthanded, where the Ravens literally had an outbreak that took their whole team, 30 players or something was put on the COVID list, and apparently that's less effective or less important than, I don't know, getting 5 people sick is a bigger deal than 30. Changing games is more important than playing games. Like, the NFL bent over backwards for Baltimore to get that game in and to let Baltimore have enough players that were healthy enough to get active, whereas they screw over teams like the Denver Broncos, the Cleveland Browns, the Oakland Raiders. Remember, the Raiders played Kansas City and almost beat them the second time without an offensive line because they were all on the COVID list. But all of those teams get fined more than the Baltimore Ravens, who screwed up 2 different team seasons, screwed up. How much money do you think the NFL lost by losing their only good Thanksgiving Day game?
A lot.
Exactly. The only primetime game that got screwed up by this was that, and they lose money, and they're still really nice to the Ravens. Like, I don't know how to get over that, because that's ridiculous. I'm losing my mind on that, and I'm just like, man, Harbaugh must be really good on his knees.
I don't understand.
There's no
either.
other way that happens.
I don't understand either, Donkey.
I mean, dude, anyone who ever thought the Patriots got preferential treatment, bro, come on. Let's look at Baltimore. Like, that's the most preferential treatment I've ever seen. How they didn't lose at least a 3rd-round draft pick for what they did is beyond me. Like, they openly admitted they violated protocols and didn't even care. And the NFL's like, meh. You're going to get fined about the same amount we fined the Steelers for wearing their socks too low. Like, bro.
Gotta be a reason, man. I don't know what it is, but gotta be a reason.
You know, the NFL wants a new face. They want new faces in there. So as long as you're taking down 2 of the most historic franchises, who cares, dude? You did it to Dallas and Pittsburgh. Good on you, Baltimore. That's what we want. That's how we're going to sell tickets. That's how we're going to sell jerseys. And that's how we're going to show Roger Goodell was not joking when he said any team that now violates protocol will be taken seriously. Like, at this point, if you're going to violate protocol in the playoffs, get your whole damn team sick so that you can delay the game. Don't just lose a player group. Make sure it's your whole team, because then the NFL will bend over backwards for you. If it just is through one player group, like your wide receivers, your offensive line, or your quarterback, that sucks to be you. You're going to play on Sunday. But if it's your whole team, you're not going to get fined much, and we'll make sure we accommodate you.
That's the Ratbirds for you.
That's the NFL for you. That's Roger Goodell for you. That's pathetic for you. But anyway, that's enough about that. I'd like to get to the Steelers game, which had me feeling about this way during the first half. Like, this same exact feeling I just put on air, that's how I felt the first half. But then, something I've been asking for 3 weeks happened. Hope.
You saw
There
it.
was hope.
saw
There
it.
was hope. There was
Ben
passes I
Roethlisberger.
haven't seen made since 2018.
The pump
I-
that faked out the cameraman. All right, if you were watching that game,
That's throwback.
cameraman had no idea where that ball was when Ben pumped that final touchdown to Juju. Oh man, that's
that
classic Ben Roethlisberger there.
That was pretty. I
But-
mean, the run game still wasn't pretty, but we really didn't try much. But that was pretty.
That's going to be your main problem moving forward. Is 20 yards on a run isn't going to get it done. The Steelers in the first half, was talking about this from start to finish. We still got to acknowledge the first half was more of the same in the past 3 weeks.
Predictable, incomplete passes, 3 and outs. The defense on the field the whole first half. Somehow the defense generates 7 points, which keeps us in the game only down 14. Kudos to you, defense, because you guys were on there the whole game. And kudos to Indy and your offense coordinator. Thank you for everything that worked in the first half, not doing it again in the second half. I really did appreciate that personally as a Steelers fan. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to pull off that comeback. Much appreciated, and good job to everybody on that Steelers team for taking advantage and pulling off that comeback. Which, by the way, Gingy, I told you it'd be a 4-point margin. I was just off by 4 points for each team. I said 24-20, 28-24. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's still pretty close.
I'll take it. I mean, but bro, that first half offense, predictable, incomplete passes. Ben looked off on the things, and more alarming to me is they know the division's on the line, and Juju admitted they came out with no energy.
More of the same. More of
You
the
can't
same.
have that.
More of the same we saw from the last 3 weeks.
What was it, like under 60 yards until we got that BS drive at the end of the half where they just let us move the ball?
Pretty much.
And dear Mike Tomlin, how dare you fall for the oldest, dumbest trick in the book of we're going to run the hurry up so you don't have to use the timeout shit at the end of the half. Dude, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You clearly knew they weren't going to... You just called the timeout anyway. Even if they're doing their hurry up, you called the timeout. You get the personnel you want on the field. Under a minute, call your damn timeout, dude. Seriously, hire me, hire Gingy, hire my brother, hire someone who knows how to manage a clock to tell you when to use these things, because you are god-awful at it.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and traditionally there's been questionable decisions. Everything's hindsight 2020, but yeah, I agree with you.
Dude, I'm yelling timeout the whole time. I'm like, they're not going to snap it, you idiot, timeout. They're not going to snap it, you idiot, timeout. I yelled that for 30 seconds to where my kids were chanting, you idiot, you idiot. And I'm like, yeah, say that to mama and I'm in trouble. Jeez Louise.
Yep.
Like, when you chant, here we go, it's okay, but you all are just chanting, you idiot. They were also chanting for Mason Rudolph in the first half, which it turned out to be a good thing that he didn't come in with the way Ben played in the second half. But I'll be honest, what they were chanting, no need to hide it.
Yeah, I mean, and that gets us to that second half where, the initial touchdown to Deontay, kudos to him for having a heck of a good catch on that throw.
Yeah, that's the first time Ben threw a ball past a receiver who had a step. I love to see that because he's always been under this year or 30 yards past. That was the first one he threw that was catchable, and look what happened. Oh, it was so good to see.
Yep.
That half looked vintage Ben. Is that there to stay? I don't know. I hope so. I just wanted hope, and I have hope. That's all I needed, really.
Follow up with the touchdown to Ebron, which unfortunately is now on the COVID list. That's going to be an unfortunate loss moving forward, indeed. But had a good sustained drive there and a good touchdown to Ebron, followed up by. Okay, all right. Bottom line, I'm looking at the entirety of the game, Donkey. I want to quote you some box stat scores. Okay.
Bring it.
This is what we were talking about. I think here's your three bangers. All right. Steelers are winning games based on field. They're based on turnovers. +2 in the turnover margin, and more importantly, 0 in Ben's interception category. I think that is entirely important that he cannot throw a dagger. for the other team.
Yeah, thank goodness. I think Indy had one that should have been pretty easy into triple coverage, been through to Ebron, and the Indy dudes knocked each other out trying to catch the ball. Thank goodness.
Indy
That could have made that first half a lot worse.
Indy had one in the fourth quarter that was saved by what cleared to be an offensive pass interference on Claypool that wasn't called. Granted, the offensive pass.
Oh, dude, he definitely tackled that dude with that. Like, he did the most veteran move you've ever seen out of a rookie.
Yes, agreed completely. So, all right, that's box stat number 1, +2 in a turnover margin. Box stat number 2, Donkey. We're looking at 5 sacks of Phillip Rivers and 1 of Ben Roethlisberger. They couldn't protect the quarterback.
Indy fans, I hate to say this, but I pointed it out in week 7 or week 8. Phillip Rivers is just that quarterback who comes up just a little bit short. And if you don't believe it, just watch this game. What happened? He has a wide open receiver on 4th down. No one even touched him. Like, the announcers tried to blame pressure, but Highsmith wasn't even that close. And he just overthrows a wide open receiver. Like, those are plays winning quarterbacks make. Those are plays Phillip Rivers has never made in his whole career. Like, you can even go back to college. The dude is just, yeah, he puts up nice stats, but at the end of the day, By the way, the game ended exactly how I wanted. Our defense on the field, because that's what I trust.
Stat number 3 for me, Donkey, and this is not as maybe as overwhelming as you'd like it to be, but indeed it is enough of a difference in key moments where there's 9 penalties for 83 yards for the Colts and only 6 for 49 for the Steelers.
So game-changing play, that run by Taylor that got called back on the most BS block in the back I ever saw. Because a block in the back means the block has to be initiated in the back. This guy started the block on the front of V. Williams, pushes him off to the side at the end, and I'm not even sure the block in the back that was called was in the back completely. I mean, how does a ref throw a hanky there? Like, that just changes the game. And I'm all for it, but let's be honest. That call happened, and then Indy abandons their running game and their shallow crosses, which I told you last week the shallow crosses would kill us. They didn't run a single shallow cross in the fourth quarter, and they didn't run the ball. It's like they forgot they were the team that was winning. It's like they thought they were the team that was down 20 points. I don't know what they were doing, but my God, their offensive coordinator, the referees, thank you. Just thank you.
Yeah. And those are my key takeaways, other than still continuing to lobby for TJ Watt as a defensive player of the year. Kept us in that first half. Big strip sack in the back. I think that's what caused the turnover that Hilton recovered.
It did. He was playing huge.
Generating points, affecting games. He's a stud. As we've been talking about.
What a great signing he's been, but I don't know if I really have takeaways other than that game gave us hope. There's still a lot of bad to be mixed with the good, but at the end of the day, it's a win. I don't care if the refs helped. I mean, I know they did, but at this point, I really don't care. I'm just happy to get a W because it's been a long time coming.
They really needed it. I think it's a good morale boost for that offense, and I think I'm hoping. And this will lead us into next week's conversation, Donkey. I'm hoping that the time that we've chosen to rest the starters is what it appears to me from the reports that I'm seeing this week. And I hope
you need to rest the starters here.
And I hope
it's the smart move.
That allows them for extra time to prepare for what is to come.
I agree with you. I think it's the best move. I hope it's a good move. There is some terrible news that came out today. I mean, Joe Hayden just got put on the COVID list for a positive COVID test, which means there is 0 chance he can play in the playoff game, and that's a big loss. I mean, you're going to have to now start doubling on that side. I don't even know what to say because
come on, Cam.
That's a guy you could leave on an island. I understand he got burned on a play on a 0 blitz, but to be fair, V. Williams has to get home on that blitz. You cannot do a 0 blitz and let the ball be thrown 50 yards down the field. If you did that, you screwed up. And we screwed up. That's pretty simple and easy to see, but I mean, that's a huge loss. Here's hoping Cam Sutton and Justin Lane step up, because they're going to need to. Hopefully they can show something this week against a Cleveland team that's going to be desperate. Let's be honest here. This is going to be a desperate football team coming in after they got the COVID curse going against the Jets. I mean, you lose all your receivers on Saturday. That's just, how'd you game plan for that? There's no way you game plan to lose your whole receiving core. So,
yeah.
That's going to be a desperate team coming in there. I'm glad we're not playing Ben. I'm glad we're not playing TJ. Because could you imagine losing TJ Watt against the Browns in a game that means literally nothing?
That would be awful.
I talked to my wife about this. She's like, well, don't you want him to stay like in the shape and stuff? You know, be ready? And I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. The game doesn't matter. You need to rest them because could you imagine if they got hurt? That would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to this team was something happened to TJ Watt, something happened to one of our DBs, which unfortunately it did. And to me, it's a great opportunity. We talked about him last week, and I am really happy to see Mason Rudolph come out there because I want to see the confident Mason Rudolph from the start of last year, not the one at the end who's throwing 4 interceptions. And if you watch last season, you can't tell me the Mason Rudolph at the end of the year looked like the same Mason Rudolph that took over originally for Ben. He lost, he got hurt, and then the confidence went. And to me, one of the most important positions to have confidence is quarterback. Because if you don't have confidence, you're going to question every throw. You're going to be late. You're not going to make the throws you need to make. I am looking to see a Mason Rudolph, who, by the way, is 5-3 as a starter, has thrown 63% completion with about 10 yards per completion. That's pretty good. I mean, the 13 touchdowns and 9 interceptions looks bad, but if you take out the 4 interception performance, you have 13 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. I mean, he's gotten the job done adequately as a backup. Is he starter material? That's yet to be seen. I think he was at the start of last year, and he clearly was third string material at the end of last year. He is a clipboard holder at best at the end of last year. I am super excited to see what he gets to bring with a better plethora of weapons, a better team, and just a feeling of no pressure. Like, let's be honest, there's pressure for him to perform, obviously, because he needs to show something, right? But, I mean, a team that's going out there with no pressure. The season isn't on the line. This isn't a, we have to prove the loss of Ben didn't lose our season type of thing. And if you're Mason Rudolph, you don't feel pressure. Go out there and sling it. I mean, what's the worst that happens? This team has shown confidence in you by not bringing in another backup, right? They let you be the backup even after the struggles from last year, so clearly they see something in him. Even Ben said he's seen stuff in him in the physical tools. And now it's time for those tools to be put with a mindset. Here is your chance to prove yourself, young man. Go out and do it. Go out and have yourself a game. I'm looking for 250, 2 touchies, and honestly, a close game. I don't know who's going to win. I honestly actually feel the Steelers win 24-21 because it's just Cleveland, and until Cleveland proves me wrong, I just can't see Cleveland doing it. But prove something against a desperate team. Because you know what? Desperate teams are going to make desperate plays. We just have to take advantage of when the situation arises.
Yeah. A lot to digest there, Donkey. I know that you know how I feel about Mason Rudolph. I personally don't think that he's the guy. Yes, I have seen glimmers. I haven't seen the attitude and the mindset like you talk about. He's still a young guy. It can still develop. I'm not 100% sold on it either way. I'm glad the starters have an opportunity to rest this week based on the win versus the Colts last week. And we'll see. We'll see.
Nothing to the Myles Garrett controversy going on here?
Yeah, I thought about mentioning it, but why would I not acknowledge that nonsense, that media nonsense that's being brought about? We'll have to see how it all pans out on Sunday. What happens between the lines is what matters to me, and I think that Myles Garrett's going to behave himself. I think it's going to be a competitive and fair football game. I think that's a lot of hype.
The real question is, do the Steelers just run the ball almost every play to try and, just milk clock and not get anyone hurt?
Well, that's not going to be a competitive way to compete against the Browns, but we can sure give that a shot.
I don't know, dude. Our last time we played against the Browns wasn't the idea just your idea. I think I'm going back to is just let Baker lose the game. Can we go to that mindset? Just see if we can make Baker make some mistakes against backups?
Without,
do we got that?
Without Hayden, that's a tougher sell. However, In this position, like you said, we don't need to win, and you're talking about seeing Mason Rudolph. I'd like to see him come out and win a football game. I'd like to see him maybe throw a little bit more than that. If we're talking about starting quality material, we need to figure out what the future's going to be after Ben. And we have an offense, Donkey. If it's going to throw the ball 35 to 40 times to 50 freaking times a game, I don't want to see Baker come in there and play JV football and just hand it off. I want to see him chuck the rock, and let's see what he's got.
I hear you on that. That's for sure. I personally want to see him too, because I want to know if we need to draft a quarterback. But to be honest, at this point, I'm just like, we need to draft 5 straight rounds of offensive linemen. Because, jeez Louise, dude. These dudes can pass protect okay. And by the way, I'm not even sure that's true, because every time Ben held the ball for more than 2 seconds, he got hit last week. And, bro, I didn't call him out because I wanted to be nice. But if I ever see, God bless, Benny Snell, a.k.a. Benny No Yards Football, in on a goal line situation again, I got one question for you. James Conner got like 1 carry on the goal line. What happened?
Touchy.
Yeah, okay. Benny No Yards has gotten like 30 carries on the goal line this year. What has happened?
Nothing good.
No touchy. No touchy. No.
Nothing good to mention there.
Why? Just someone can you explain to me why Benny No Yards gets the goal line touches? Why Benny No Yards is in on 3rd down? Like, at least with James Conner, we have the threat to maybe throw him the football. With Benny No Yards, the other team just has to be like, yeah, we're going to stop them. Turnovers on downs, baby.
It's just very...
Is that what they chant? Do they just chant, no yards, no yards, no yards, every time they see Benny come into the football game when it's short-yarded situations?
It's just very predictable.
It's terrible. And then I have another question, because there's a 3rd down play. Okay, Benny Snell, would you say he's a capable running back to run outside the tackles with?
No.
Why the hell are we calling a pitch play on 3rd and 1 to Benny Snell football?
Oh, Donkey, I don't know.
Bro, Randy Fichtner needs to come up here to Alaska. I'll hit him upside the head with a whiskey bottle. I'll put on a fat suit, old man suit, and I'll go offensive coordinate, because I couldn't be any worse than this jag-off.
It's very predictable. It doesn't look good, and, Ben calling plays looks a lot better than Fichtner calling plays does, but who am I to say?
Let's go. Dude, I'm trying to think of something nice to say for Randy Fichtner, but... Bro,
it's been a tough year for us all, Donkey.
Gingy, there was something we talked about pre-show that I talked about wanting this guy back because the guy we replaced him with was terrible. But you wanted to say something nice about him on the shoutouts, did we not?
Donkey.
So why don't we get there?
Let's get to some shoutouts, because this week I want to talk about the return of Jordan Berry. Now, let me quote you some stats, folks. We got 6 punts for 288 yards. We're averaging over 47 yards a punt, with 3 of them being dropped inside the 20. Welcome back. Shout out to Jordan Berry, because Lord knows this team punts enough that we need a damn good punter.
I think the only team worse than us at 3-and-out percentage is the Jets.
I don't want to talk about that.
Seriously? The freaking Jets are the only team that's worse than us at not holding on to the football? Well, I guess that's not right. It's not holding on to the football that necessarily is our problem. It's
sustaining drives.
Getting past those little pesky markers that they put on the field to tell you how far you have to go, man. Those things are just rude, okay? You should not judge my team based on their inability to move the ball past that second stick you put up there, okay? Like, we're clearly at a disadvantage. This should be like bowling. We should have a handicap. Move that thing back a couple yards. Give us a chance. Come on now.
I don't know about all that, but, it's still this week Steelers need to sustain some drives. The 3rd down percentage, Donkey, is still Not what I would like it to be.
Garbage.
Yeah, I went with 4 for 11 last week, 4 for 12, something of that nature. Don't quote me, but it was.
Did we have one in the first half?
Nah, I don't want to talk that. The first half certainly skews that. And like I said, I think it's really important to mention that still the second half of that game was great. And coming away with a W in December is always pleasant. But it does not necessarily discourage what you and I have talked about in the podcast in previous weeks for me.
Literally, the first half was everything we've talked about the last 2 weeks. Everything I hated, everything I was scared of was the first half.
Yeah.
And then the second half happened, and it's like, that's what I needed. Hope. Hope.
That is
so
the
we should
hope.
focus on the second half, because I want to focus on the hope, not the whatever the hell that first half was.
I agree, but I'm just saying, I just wanted to not be remiss in terms of somebody out there calling us total homers, for at least me
That's true.
being a total homer, but because I do acknowledge the fact that was not a two half football game.
I was about to be like, if they call me a homer, they clearly don't ever listen.
No, but I myself do not want to appear ignorant to the fact that I am not like, oh, all the offensive woes are solved, and here comes Ben to save the day every time. I'm not thinking that way. Yeah, shooters shoot.
The 27th most accurate deep passing quarterback comes out and shows, hey, there's still a little magic in this arm.
Hey.
I might not be a Heisman Trophy winner, but I've won a couple Super Bowls.
Hey, shooters shoot, and sometimes their shots land, and sometimes they don't. And as those shooters get
is
old,
what people said about Brett Favre. I don't like that. Brett Favre is the quarterback I don't want in the clutch because he's more likely to throw it to the wrong.
and I'm unfortunately, Donkey, the franchise quarterback of the Steelers, is somewhat like that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Somewhat.
I mean, you look at their careers, the way they made plays, you are not wrong at all. So we'll go with that. That's fine. Hopefully he brings home one more, though.
Agreed. So, yeah, we got to my shout-out. You got any this week, Donkey?
Let's see. Who do I want to give a shout-out to this week? I just want to give a shout-out to the coaching staff. I mean, I called you out, and I don't think your game planning was very good. But y'all did something to invigorate that team. The captains did something to invigorate that team. I want to give a shout out to anyone in that locker room who tore into people at halftime. Because clearly it happened. They came out and they looked happy. They looked like they were playing. Like that same team that had looked dead for, let's be honest, 5 weeks. Even when we won those last couple games, they didn't look into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something clicked. Something happened. Y'all need to come to that attitude in the first half, okay? No more 3 and outs to start the game. The worst team on opening drives in football cannot show up in the playoffs. We need that team that one time this year scored a touchdown on an opening drive. I don't remember when, but one time they did it. We need that team to show up. I'd love to give a shout out to all those guys. I don't even know. Like, you have to give a shout out to TJ Watt and Mike Hilton because they're the whole reason we were in the game. Like, those
100%.
two players individually made so many big plays to keep us in the game, and it was great. Shout out to Steelers Nation who still believes. If you still believe. I still believe. I've said so much negative stuff, but I still believe. I mean,
Beautiful.
I wouldn't be doing this show talking if I didn't.
So-
I always believe, but
We believe in you too, Donkey.
that's good, because I even believed in the Steelers when they had Duck Hodges, The belief is there. The realization that it's probably not going to happen is also there a lot of the time. But this is for Steeler Nation. This is the best start to a season we ever had. And think of how negative we are being for a team that wrapped up the division in Week 16. Is guaranteed to be at least 12-4. And we're out here acting like the team's just kaputs because the media wants you to believe that the Kansas City Chiefs, who almost lost to the Denver Broncos, who lost to the Las Vegas Raiders, who almost lost and should have lost to the Atlanta Falcons. They have us believing that team's untouchable. They
Not
have us
true.
believing that no one can play with that team.
Not
so
true.
all the fans of the other teams are like, oh no, when we see a glimmer of bad, it's over. Hey, Steelers Nation, I get it. The defense got hurt. It hurts. We lost. We went from a Super Bowl defense to an elite defense to a good defense. I get it. But at the end of the day, this good defense shows up. Our offense doesn't turn the ball over. We look like a pretty unstoppable team. Like, the biggest thing is just don't turn the ball over, baby. So shout out to ball control to end it for me.
Here we go, Donkey. Wave him if you got him. Let's eliminate the Browns from the playoffs. Wouldn't that be just icing on the cake?
Keep the stains where they belong.
Down in the basement.
Let's go.
Wave him if you got him, Steeler Nation.
Hey, thank everybody for watching. Feel free to catch us on any of our socials. You can catch my stream at Viking_Donkey. You catch us on the YouTube, A Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. I'm going to try to start putting this as a podcast, hopefully by the end of January. And we'll be getting a face cam hopefully by next week, so y'all get to see my ugly mug and see my reactions and see when I think Gingy says something ridiculous, because I can't hold back the facial, but I can hold back the words. Thank you all for tuning in. I enjoy and appreciate every one of you, and I hope you come back to catch us next week.
Let's go.